Hi everyone! Today's video is a special celebration of the 2025 version of Shapelab. I really wanted to showcase how far Shapelab has come, and what better way to do that than by recreating an old scene of mine. Now listen, I know this wasn't my best work back then either, but I really liked the initial idea of creating a fun snowball scene as a reminder of some of the good things we have in winter. This winter scene is from 3 years ago, and I have a feeling some of you didn't even know Shapelab existed back then. But let me tell you, creating a complex, multi-character scene was a huge challenge. And I say this as someone who was already in love with sculpting in Shapelab. But just look at how far Shapelab has come over the years. We've added multi-object handling, lights, desktop mode, custom stamps. The list is virtually endless. I too have changed the way I approach a project, so let's jump into this and I'll explain how I recreated this scene. So as always, the first step is to gather some ideas on a mood board. In this case, I already know how I want my scene to look, obviously, but I'm not pleased with the overall composition. So my first task is to identify the key things that I want to improve. Two things stand out instantly: the scene's dynamics and the coloring. In the old Shapelab, moving elements together meant booleaning parts, which made it difficult to adjust the composition later on. In the new Shapelab, my first step is going to be posing my characters so I can get a clear preview of the dynamics. For posing, I parent objects in the proper order and place the origin at the joints, making it much easier to rotate the body parts. I also want the triangular composition to be more pronounced in the final render, so I decided to position the character in the back in a crouching stance. Since there are some complex movements in this scene, I used pose references and a sketch. Once I have the posed figures, references, and sketch, I start sculpting and molding everything together on my 3D canvas. I like to start with the face as it's one of the most important parts. Expressions can really sell your idea. Sculpting a face is also very complex, and I find it easier to match the rest of the character to the face rather than the other way around. For this scene, I decided to go for a carved clay look to enhance the expressions. This adds to the definition of the final render, in my opinion. Another great feature that we have now is custom lighting, which is super helpful because I can match it to the final look I want. Believe me, lighting is crucial. It allows you to hide or emphasize certain details. Not everything works with every type of lighting, and if you spend hours sculpting something that doesn't fit your scene's lighting, it's going to be a mess to fix later. Planning ahead is key. For example, if your final render is stationary, you can save tons of time by not sculpting the back of the model. But in this scenario, since I'm on a turntable render as well, I don't think I can skip that. Now I start by carving out the general shape of the face and hair. I exaggerate the hair flow as if the wind was blowing it to emphasize the movement of impact when the snowball hits. Then I return to the face and build it up slowly with clay strips. One mistake I often see, and sometimes make myself, is forgetting how surprisingly thick your eyelids are. To get them right, I use the trim, pinch, crease, and clay tools. Another trick that helps maybe is thinking of different facial features as simple 3D shapes that I can gradually refine layer by layer. Once I'm happy with the face, I duplicate it. Reusing and adjusting elements is a huge time-saving technique. Then I modify the expression of the front character to capture the moment of being hit by a snowball. And as I refine the scene, I adjust the other characters' expressions as well to ensure they work together stylistically. Focusing too much on one part of the scene can make the rest feel disconnected, so I try and keep everything in balance. For the clothing, I use base meshes I've created before. These are low poly, and whenever I reuse a base object with good topology, I can simply add subdivision levels to refine the details while keeping the low poly count. I can also save these as custom stamps for an even faster workflow. I sculpt the clothes using the same clay strip technique as I used on the faces before to maintain a cohesive look. Next, I move on to shaping the hands. This is one of my least favorite parts. You know, hands are tricky, so I like to reuse an instance and adjust the fingers by masking out the rest of the hand. Then I roughly position it where I want them and then smooth any rough bending areas if needed. In my original concept, the biggest issue with the painting was that I tried to do too much. While good painting can enhance form and shadows, in this case, I've exaggerated the facial features just enough so that simple coloring will do just fine. I've already applied base colors to some areas, and in the final stage, I'll focus on refining the color combinations, nothing too wild. I really like the floral pattern of the ski suit in the original, and I want to bring back a bit of that vintage vibe, so I add some 80s inspired elements to the front character's outfit. And that's it. This entire process, from posing my characters to refining expressions, sculpting, and adding final details, really shows how much both Shapelab and my own approach to sculpting have evolved. What used to be a tedious, rigid workflow is now so much more flexible thanks to multi-object handling, custom lighting, and a more intuitive posing system. Being able to iterate and refine without destroying my work is a game changer for me, and it makes the entire process smoother and more enjoyable. I love looking back at old projects like this. It's a great way to measure progress, not just in terms of skill, but also in how technology enables better, faster workflows. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown and maybe even got inspired to revisit some of your own older projects. And if you do so, please be sure to share them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.